Yes, everybody, Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe, all that good stuff. It's Wednesday night. I think what day it was then. Wednesday night. And we thought we'd do a live show. We'll have Old School Hammers are doing a show later on, talking about the transfer window, the good, the bad, the ugly. And with Budgie and Kieran and maybe Steve as well, I believe. But we thought we'll have a live. We'll talk about West Ham. I think we're feeling a bit sorry for ourselves at the moment. I'll be honest. At the moment, I think we're all feeling a bit sorry for ourselves at the moment. And it's like, yes, we've got injuries. But yes, we're sick from the league. Yes, we're in the Europa lockout stages. We won the group. Yes, we're still in the FA Cup as well, albeit for a few more days. So, I thought we'd chew the fat. And the idea is this is your show. It's interactive. You want to bring up topics, let us know in the chat, and we'll try and get through to them as many as possible. Let's bring in today's guest. Now, today's guest you're going to see a lot more of on the West Ham Network. If you're on the TikTok, as the kids say, Al's on there quite a lot. He's got a few followers over in TikTok land. It's, transfer window's open. The January transfer window is open. It's our first transfer West Ham can announce, the West Ham Network can announce, from TikTok to YouTube for an undisclosed fee. It's out. How you doing, man?
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Russ. Thank you for having me on.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
There's no like funny hats or things on this one.
No,
you don't get funny hats and things and stars and whatever it is in this. That's it. This is normal. This is normal land.
Yeah, I try and keep the comments in front of me so I don't see all the silly hats and stuff that they tend to put on me on TikTok. But it's good to be on. Good.
And if it wasn't just Al, it's like buses. You wait for one and two come along at once. Here he is, our man from another land. And what the fuck's going on with that hair? It's Calvin Phillips. No, it's not. What the fuck is going on with that, Barnett?
Let's address the elephant in the room.
Did you win the bet?
How you doing? He's all right?
Yeah, we're right, man. You're right.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah, not bad. Good to have you on board, Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure, mate. Right. Can we just?
I think my wife did that hairstyle on my daughter the other day.
As did I with my daughter. And then my daughter, in retaliation, was like, "You want that done?" So,
yeah, I've been asked to try it. I had no skill when it comes to my daughter's hair at all.
Honestly, P-Gads, if you go through the history of me being on YouTube, I've actually had so many fucking hairdos.
You are the Jesse Lingard of hairdos.
Yes.
Jesse
Midlife crisis.
Jesse Lingard coming. It's Anton's sly sort of hint that Jesse's on his way in. He's training a cover at the moment.
Wink.
Russ, I think, it's like you've got Anton with lots of hair. Alex has got a decent amount of hair, and I've got no hair. So it's like the evolution of haircuts, the evolution of man just by your hair.
I've got plenty of hair, but as long as you don't look from above. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah. You've got that sort of island in the middle of
yeah. I have right there, and it's receded along there, but we don't talk about that.
No, just keep your head up. See, I'm quite short, so everyone sort of walks past, and it was quite obvious by syrup. So it was quite obvious for a while. Do you know what I've seen on the TikTok those hair things, those wigs that that guy who's like a barber puts on. They last for like 6 months.
Mate, don't get me talking about bloody TikTok. See TikTok shop. I'm obsessed. And do you know what else? Something got delivered today, right? And I spent ages, and I went onto the Every website, and I'm looking through the Every website, and I'm thinking, where the fuck is my item? And then I went onto the Every website that showed me a picture, and it showed the delivery getting put into the post box, and I was like, that's not my post box. And I sent it to my wife, and I was like, where is our delivery? And then I realized me and you shared the TikTok account, Russ. It's been delivered to your bloody post box.
It was my stickers. It was my stickers from Pablo Panini. You might see some more of him on the old West Ham Network coming up shortly as well. How funny. Of course, we share the same thing, don't we? Slap a merkin on your head, Russ. There we go. The new Vidal soon. Is it fair to say at the moment, Anton? I was just saying to Al quickly, are we all feeling a bit sorry for ourselves at the moment as West Ham fans?
Yeah, but how many times have we felt sorry for ourselves this season?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like adding up. Like, I think, I don't know if it was the video I did yesterday. I can't even remember. And I said that, at the start of the season, everyone looked at the first 6 fixtures and we all went, we're done.
Yeah. No, I remember doing a video on exactly that, like saying, no, I'm not looking forward to these first 6 fixtures. And then it was like the Man City loss, and we're like, oh no, this is the downfall now. We've had our great start. And then it was the Fulham game. That was like, oh no, this is terrible. Like, we're absolutely shocking. But every single time we seem to have a terrible performance and we're down and out, we bounce back and suddenly we're great again for a couple of weeks until the next terrible thing that happens.
Yeah. I mean, are we feeling sorry for ourselves? Absolutely. How can we not when we've lost on paper, questionably the best front three that not just West Ham have got in the Premier League, but many Premier League teams would want right now. So it would be silly for us to not look at that and go, holy shit. However, as you just said, Alex, we do have that ability to sometimes flex in a different way and sometimes battle back. And I did say it in yesterday's video or this morning's video. We put the gloves on and we fight. The thing is, we've just not saw that from anywhere else yet to think positively. But
yeah, I think it's.
You've got to judge what happens when it happens, and right now we've not seen what's happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trouble is, because we haven't got a game, well, until Tuesday next week, wherever it is now. It's like it's mass hysteria because it's like everyone's, as we said before me and Al started, we were saying, obviously, we spoke about Paqueta, it was 4 to 6 weeks, then it was told it was 6 to 8 weeks. Then Paqueta comes out himself and says, actually, don't read everything you read in the papers. It's not as bad. But did he say that last time? Did he say it last time?
But this is one of the questions of why he played against Bristol City. Like, did he say that he was fit enough to play in that game, or was it the medics, or was it someone else? Because obviously he still had a little issue, and because he did say that on Instagram, where he said, "I'm fine, I'll be back in a week." Was it him saying, "I feel fine, I can play, Gaffer"? Was that him? Maybe. Is it him underestimating how bad his actual injury is?
Have they came out and said that the injury he's picked up is a reoccurrence of what he had before?
Yeah.
I think it's been actually officially reported, but that's what's been.
He was holding the same leg.
Yeah,
I think he was. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think he was.
Because the thing I noticed was he kept concentrating on the back.
Yes,
the back more than before, and I was it the calf? It was the calf, wasn't it?
Well, the last couple of games, even before then, before he got injured, he had both sides of his legs taped up, and I think he's been working. I think he's been playing with an injury for a while, actually, to be honest, because it was like a few of the home games in a row, he'd gone down quite early on, and like they were ready to make a change straight away. Like Pablo was like ready to come on, and it was like. And he was like, "Oh, no, I'm okay." So I think he's had a niggle for a good few weeks before he got injured. As you said, although he has to say, he's fit, he has to be medically cleared. And it's sod's law. Usually when you get injured, the chances are you could get reoccurrence very, very quickly. I still don't think we needed to have played him on Saturday in Ozuma at all, but we did. And and I understood why, because obviously we had, in essence, a 2-week gap if we'd won, which we didn't. Hindsight's a great thing, Ironically, now it looks like Jurgen Klopp's throwing the semi-final.
It's not, is he?
Fulham winning 1-0.
Well, it's 2 legs. It's 2 legs.
So. 2 legs, but it's the home leg. They're at Liverpool now, isn't it? So they should be. No. It's 1-0. It's 1-0 away. But it does seem a bit of a. And we've been very fortunate in the fact that we haven't had many injuries, apart from Antonio, really, until this point. As you were saying before we started out, you look at Newcastle, they've had 11 players out pretty much most of the season, albeit one's in and one out, interchanges. Same as Brighton. So we have been lucky. It just has to happen when Kudus is meant to be over in the African, he's in Ghana at the moment, still getting treatment. It's just sod's law. It's the
And-
West Ham
and-
way.
Yeah, and I think Matt put the stats in to our chat at one point, and he said something like between Paqueta, Bowen, and Kudus, it's 35 goal contributions and 70 appearances between the three of them, and so of course that is massive. It's a massive loss. It's disheartening. It can be really disappointing. But you said it, Russ, as well. Like we've not got a game to judge it on now. We've got the past right. Sorry, that's a lie. We've witnessed the utilization within reason of our squad being used, and we've not been impressed. But this is going to be the longest spell that we're going to see that. So, if we're going to see Mubama, it's going to be now. If we're going to see Ings, it's going to be now. If we're going to see Fornals, it's going to be now. If it's going to see Benrahma, it's going to be now. So we're going to have to judge it on the basis of what comes our way, and what if we do look to do any business. But we'll see.
It's one of the things. I mean, Irish Tommy. Obviously, guys, check out. Obviously, Irish Tommy does a show on Friday nights, late show of Irish Tommy. I mean, Moyes is going to take advice from the medical team, and it's not going to say Moyes is not going to say, right, you're playing. He's going to ask them, is he fit? Yes, he's fit. He plays. So it is unfortunate. There's a reoccurrence there, but at the end of the day, you can't legislate for those types of things. And when people say, "Oh, it's Moyes' fault, he didn't have to play him," when we saw the team sheet on Saturday, if we'd won, we'd have gone fair play. He's shown them the respect, Bristol City, the respect they need. We've done the job. We didn't do the job. He got injured. It was a risk. In the same way, if he'd put out all the kids and they'd got turned over 5-1 like Nottingham Forest, like Big Sam did years ago, they'd have said, "Oh, fucking Moyes doesn't, respect the FA Cup and stuff like that." So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I think he wouldn't have gone against medical advice because
I do think that sometimes Moyes can't do anything right in some people's eyes. If he didn't play Paqueta and Bowen in that game, he would have been criticised. If we ended up with a draw, he would have been criticised for not playing a strong team. But because he did play them and they got injured, he's now getting criticised for playing them. He got criticised for not taking Bowen off sooner. And it's like, well, if he took our top goal scorer off on the 70th minute when we needed a goal and we didn't get a goal, he was like, well, why did he take him off? He wouldn't have been able to do anything right. And I do think sometimes he just gets, criticised a little bit too much. Not that he is beyond criticism, not at all. He does do things wrong, but not everything is his fault. I think.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
right.
I know what you mean.
100%.
But Maverick Palace is on a ski trip. Apparently, he's not skiing, but he's all right. We know Zuma's all right because he's in Europe, isn't he, at the moment? So everyone's, and we know Pablo Fornals is all right because he's bringing back Jesse Lingard, isn't he? So it's all right.
Yeah. He's forget what Tim Steidten's doing. We've got Fornals on the case.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the plane, if he does the private jet picture and it's Fornals instead of Jesse, instead of Tim at the back with Jesse Lingard? Yeah,
but that's an interesting point you brought up there, Alex. So Tim Steidten again. The show I was talking about, I did this morning, was talking about over to you, Timmy. But it's not, all fun and games. But essentially, Tim Steidten's been brought in to do a job, right? And the job is to go and research and find the best talent he possibly can find and bring that to the club. So he's had a summer under his belt, and that means he doesn't stop working. He hasn't stopped working.
No, he hasn't.
Working on targets. What this may have done is brought some targets that West Ham were looking at maybe for next summer. Closer. If we are going to go into the market, we may be looking at bringing people in. So I think I said I was going to do a show called Let the Panic Buying Begin, but I genuinely don't believe there's an element of panic buying. I think that we have a system in place, and that system just may have to be brought ahead of the schedule. And so therefore, over to you, Timmy. This is our problem. Go and get us the best deals you can get us.
Yeah. No, I see a lot of comments on my TikTok posts where people say, "Oh, we're not going to get anyone in. We never do in January." And my come back to that is always, this is different. This is a different window now. We've brought in Tim Steidten to help organise our transfer window and to help organise, the purchases and how we do business in the transfer market. And it just feels different to how it has done in other January windows after that summer, the summer where we did wait and we took our time and then we got the players in. And I feel like it is a lot different now. We got Tim Steidten, he's brought in to do that job, and we just got to kind of trust in the process. And it doesn't feel like we are going to be doing like those panic last minute buys. You know, remember when we got in like Mido and like Benny McCarthy and things like Danny Ings last season. I can't see us doing deals like that this window because we got, you know, Tim Steidten in there to do it. And I think you're right that we did have a lot of targets for next summer that might have been brought forward because of this injury crisis. And the delay at the moment is just reevaluating what targets we go for now and, you know, where we need to strengthen most depending on the injuries.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think in terms of before this sort of mini injury crisis, we'll call it, the emphasis was on sort of bringing in defenders clearly, you know, and so that was the plan. Now it's sort of that plus an attacking option, whether it's one or two, you know, and I still think we're going to be utilising the low market on those attacking options. We're not going to, you know, if we're going to invest, I think we'll be going to be investing money in the centre backs with the forward line being loan deals come in. We've spoken about Hugo Ekitike. You know, even if we do spend the money, it won't be a lot. Core Adams, some Montpellier potentially. You know, these guys, we're not going to be breaking the bank for them because come the end of February, for example, they're all back, they're all fit. Plus, you'll have genuine options on the bench. So you will have someone like Ekitike on loan who could come on and make a difference, which is what we don't have at the moment. So,
but on that though, like for me, like if we are going to bring forward, say for example, let's just for the sake of talking about it, bring forward our main target in the summer, and we can somehow get a hold of him in the winter. Like I don't see the problem with it because if you do have that player that challenges, and then you have Paqueta and you have Bowen and you have Kudus coming back, like that's where you want to be. Alex, you mentioned it. How many summers ago was it how many times in the recent years have West Ham let a window go by and that's the window we should have invested to bring someone in because we were maybe a player away from progressing, or we were two players away from progressing. You know, off the top of my head, the summer we moved from Upton Park to the Olympic Stadium, our recruitment wasn't great at all. We were promised big time players, and we got bug standard average players. And then we made that, you know, the season a couple of years ago when we were challenging again, and then we didn't buy in the January window, I think it was.
2021-22 season when we were in Europa League. And we just kind of fizzled off in the second part of the season.
And that was the opportunity there. And now this is a different opportunity because we're kind of our hands are forced. So if our hands are forced, but we're sitting sixth in the league and we're still in Europa League last 16, and we're not playing as many games as, you know, whatever. But if these players are going to be missing for the level of time they are, we're still going to miss them for 3 or 4 games. The season could fold within itself in that time scale. But we have an opportunity, in my opinion, now to really strengthen. And actually, that fits the system of what David Moyes does, which is give them 6 months to settle in. Well, we need the players now, but then when the other players come back, then you let them settle in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think when we signed Danny Ings last year, we didn't have Tim at the wheel.
Exactly. We haven't had Tim at the wheel, and you're right.
No, and like so, these injuries could possibly be like a blessing in disguise, where it kind of forces our hands to make these changes, and we end up getting in some players we didn't originally plan to get in, and it strengthens us for the latter part of the season where historically we tend to fall away at the end of the season, and especially with our Europa League campaign as well.
Yeah, and I think also, as you said, because, and it's like, if we were like 16th or 17th in the league, I'd be shitting myself now.
Yeah.
The fact is, and Nick said it on Claret and Foos, bless him, 10 points till safety or something like that. And it's like, it is true. It is true. You know, we're not we're not in risk of us getting relegated. And so it's not.
But you're right, and we've said that as a joke. Like, as a West Ham fan, we all look at 40 points. No matter the season, No matter how well we're doing, the first thing we look at is 40 points, right? So all jokes aside, yes, we look at that. But let's be brutally honest, right? We have an opportunity. We are 6th. We've got very good points on the board, a good tally of points. What we don't want to happen is to see that fallout come now.
Yeah.
And I get what Nick's saying, and I get me and you've said that, Russ, before, and whatever. But this is the chance. There's no way the club are looking at this situation and going, I do believe there's an element of consolidation. I think Moyes is a consolidation manager. I think the owners are consolidation to a certain extent. I agree. But there is a but. There's another opportunity they've been handed in them, and that is dip into the market, bring in the players you want. You've got. I mean, what if Tim wasn't to buy a player in January? I don't know. When we need to buy players, I don't know why Tim's there then, unless it's the
no.
Are you telling me that we're and if Moyes stays in this? I just don't understand it. Like, surely there's a reason why Tim's there.
Surely,
yeah. I think
you tell you what, man.
Yeah, no, I think that there is definitely a reason why he's there. He's been brought in to help get those right players in. Where historically, not all of our signings have come in and done particularly well. And the signings we made in the summer, they may not have been identified by Tim himself, not all of them, but he definitely would have signed off on them, and he was integral in getting those deals over the line, especially with the ones like Kudus. I think that how we managed to do that deal, I don't understand how we got that one over the line and no one else didn't, is mad. And I do think that is a large part to do with Tim Steidten selling him the club and selling him the project, so hopefully that does mean that we have identified targets. We may not know all those targets, and we will see some action happen in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah,
I think the real question is now, though, is now we don't have those creative players, and we got the game against Bristol and then the game against Sheffield Wednesday. Is Moyes going to try and do the same thing he was doing if we would have Kudus, Paqueta and Bowen available, or is he going to adjust the system to try and play a different way, to try and play to some other strengths that we have, instead of that counter-attacking football? Because the players that we are left with are not as effective playing that way as the ones that we are without at the moment.
Yeah, and I think also, but the players we do have available to us are the generals. Are Moyes' generals, aren't they? Really, they are the Souceks, the Soufals, and things like that. And when he needs a result, when it's always, if he loses tonight, he's going to be sacked type thing, the narrative comes out. 99% of 100, 9 times out of 100, they win that game. And it might be Aaron Cresswell plays left back, but he just seems to. And the Bristol City game is an interesting game. I think the fact is the kids getting knocked out yesterday could benefit the side, and there's a question about that in youth, and we're going to come to that because I think that's an important question to raise, and I'll give you some insight into the youth team and David Moyes as well, and I think you've got the situation, and so for me, I mean the draw made a big difference as well in that we've got a favourable next round draw at home against either Forest or Blackpool. If it was Liverpool Anfield, I wouldn't be surprised if it was thrown. But the fact is it's not. So I still think, we know that Mav should be back in time for that game. Mavropanos should be back in time and that type of thing. So, I think the back line will be all right. We might have to shithouse that game properly. We know Bristol City have completely sold out. It's completely sold out. All the corporates. I was talking to my firm's head offices in Bristol, and all them were down today. They've all got the tickets. No one offered me one for some reason. Unbelievable. Fucking cheap. But yeah, so it's going to be a rocking place. It'll be cracking atmosphere, and we might have enough. We might have enough to get through, and it's going to be a tough game. But I'm not more concerned about Bristol. I'm more concerned about about the Saturday, about the Sheffield United game.
Yeah, and
it might mean that we have to shit house a few games until Bowen's back, and it's going to be proper. Soucek, and then I saw your TikTok today, talking about Soucek up front. it might have to be just to get a result. But to be honest, he plays up front quite a lot, doesn't he? When they've got like Bowen as a target man. So
yeah, but I mean that was kind of like what was referencing. I was saying Moyes playing a different way, playing to our strengths, which is just getting balls in the box for someone like Soucek, who will inevitably get on the end of them because he is very good at doing that. I mean, it was a joke, kind of like playing Soucek up top on his own. Like, that wouldn't work. But playing him in that more forward position, maybe alongside someone else, it may not be something that wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe it is something that he would consider because of, we know that Soucek is best in either box, really. He does most of his good stuff in the box at either end. So it is a possibility of something that I think he may consider, even though it is a little bit of a joke. And it is one of his reliable players as well, where he loves him.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's a mad situation to be in because we've got such an exciting dynamic trio up top, and to lose them is so disheartening, really, for the season. But
yes,
something makes me think sometimes Moyes likes this. No one would ever want what I've just said there about the trio of players to go. No. But when the going gets tough, he seems to be that result. I don't know, like guy that just when the pressure's on the most, that seems to be when he kind of breaks through those barriers and does things that we don't expect, I suppose you could say. So, like I said, going back to the start of the video when I said to you guys, like, everyone wiped us out at the start of the season, then wiped us out when Paqueta was potentially leaving, then wiped us out when we got beat from Fulham, then wiped us out when we got beat from Liverpool, then wiped us out when we've had all the injuries and right now. And that hasn't stopped. People wiped us out last season and people wiped us out the season before, but we've kept going and sometimes the football's not been great. I get that. I get people frustrated at that, but we are where we are, and this isn't great, but it's interesting to see how these guys react to it.
Yeah, it is. I think we're in this situation now, so it's like we've got to put up and shut up, really, the side, and they've got to put in a decent performance against Bristol City. As I said, yesterday, unlucky with the lads, obviously 2-1 Wickham, and as we said, and every report I've read about the game yesterday, and having watched it as well, it was true what I said, in terms of technically the under-21s are fantastic, but physically they're not strong enough. And Wickham bullied them. That was the only department they actually bullied them. I think Gonza did a really good piece about it today and stuff. And that was always going to be the case. And so in terms of people say, we'll just throw the kids in.
Yeah, but I guess so I'm all over the place with this one because I don't necessarily think that. And I understand the analogy of when you're talking about the kids, you're not talking about one, you're talking about collective unit of group of youth and all that sort of stuff. But nobody can tell me that not one of those youth players that we've got could make the ability to step up now. I don't believe that for a second, actually. And I also don't believe that every single youth player has, and I'm not saying you are saying this, but has to go to the Championship on loan. I don't necessarily believe it. That just seems to be the rhetoric that's happened in modern football. But some teams, and in particular in Europe, they don't do that. In Europe, they do not send them out on loan. They learn their trade from the bench and they come on and they get given opportunities. Now, I know David Moyes doesn't do that, but let's talk about Mubama for a second. I've seen some people slag him off, but in actual fact, I think collectively, for being the age he is, stepping into the West Ham season that he's had over the last couple of years, I actually think as a whole, if you had to do a review of Mubama, I would go like, fair play to you, son. Well done. Because if we had to do a review of Mipu Odebiku, we would not be saying that with all due respect. We would not be saying that for some of the other players that have been given a chance. So I think what Luke had said before was Mubama, for me, deserves a run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking about this the other day with him, and I feel like he did get a lot of unfair criticism from the Bristol City game. I didn't think he was, it definitely wasn't his best game, and he did look like a little bit off the pace at times. But then he's playing in that sole striker role, where we have seen a lot more experienced players in the past struggle.
Yeah.
It is such a hard role to play, and it does heavily rely on balls, the delivery and service into him as well. And yeah, it is a very physical side of it. And I actually think when Danny Ings came on and the other substitutes came on, and he moved a little bit out to the wing, and he had a little bit more of the ball, I thought he improved, and he did look okay. He's good on the ball. He's got a good touch on him. He has got that eye for goal, and he does know those runs. And it's the only way he's going to improve is with experience. And if you're only going to play him for 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, for the rest of the season, then I go, well, you're not really gaining a huge amount of experience. And that's where I would say, maybe going off on loan to a championship side if you're going to play regular every week against, in the professional game against professionals and have that physicality, then that is valuable experience.
Absolutely. No, I do agree with that, definitely. But I think when it comes to Mubama with our current circumstances, for me, it's a little bit like when these players come back, where will Mubama fit in at West Ham? Now, West Ham will look at the market in the summer. Where will Mubama fit in at West Ham? So for me, with regards to Mubama, it's now or never. And I genuinely believe that. I did say this once before with Alessi when we had the centre-back issue at Chelsea. Was it Chelsea or Arsenal? I can't remember. And then he didn't play him. And I think one of the centre-backs was okay in the end.
Didn't he?
But that's not worked out the way I thought it was that it would, because I thought unless he would have gone on to do all right, but he's obviously not, with all due respect to him. But Mubama, for me, I think is actually, if I think back to the game against in the Europa League last year when he should have got the goal and it was disallowed, it wasn't given to him, it was given as an own goal. Yeah, the 2 goals he scored that should have been,
he has got one, hasn't he? I do believe he has got one. One that he has actually been accredited with, hasn't he? I know he's had 2 when we thought were his.
Did he get one?
I'm going to have a look. I'll have a look at my cheat sheet.
No, I don't think he has.
No, he has got 1 goal. He has got 1 goal.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was in Europe.
Larnaca games, but the Larnaca game he got.
Was it not chopped off?
No, well, it's not according to.
No, not chopped off. Not chopped off from him, but chopped off, given to
no, because that was in the Conference League last year, weren't it?
Last year, the Larnaca
and the first one he got chalked off was in the Europa League last game against.
I don't have him scoring for West Ham at all.
Do you not? I don't. I mean, I might be completely wrong.
I've got him scoring against Larnaca 4-0 when we won at home.
Nah, it wasn't given to him, mate. It wasn't given to him.
What's that one against Paqueta?
Oh, hold on a minute.
The Paqueta one was the one that was disallowed, wasn't it?
Maybe it was disallowed.
Yeah, maybe it was given.
Yeah. The trouble is the under-21s is, and we said this, is...
He fucking did. I'm sorry, he did.
Yeah,
at home. He celebrated, didn't he? That's right. He
did. I remember.
And then we said, he's got... Because then we play Spurs, or we're going to play Spurs, and like close to that, weren't we, or something like that. Anyway, the problem at the moment is the system that the 18s and 21s play is 3-4-3, and so Mubama is playing in a front 3 in essence, a proper front 3. We're not a left winger who's actually a number 10, and so from the 18s and 21s, these guys are used to playing in the 3-4-3. Now the trouble is, when you come to the first team, we're still a 4, wherever it is, 4-1-2, 2-1, whatever it is, and that's the issue. That is the issue. So it's almost like, and to be honest, every other age group is playing the 3-4-3 apart from the first team. And that's the trouble. So you can't expect, Divine, the amount of time Divine, against Bristol City, when he moved onto the right wing, to be honest, should have given it right to Ben Johnson, but kept him cutting inside because that's his natural instinct to cut inside. And that was the problem. And that's always going to be an issue. So, someone like Lewis Orford, for example, he could probably do a decent job, but he'll probably play on Friday because obviously we play Man City in the FA Youth Cup at Rush Green on Friday, and so he might play then because he played for he played against Southampton. But regardless of that, I think you might see a few of them come into the side come into the squad for the Bristol City game for sure. And someone says, shouldn't Moyes be watching you? David Moyes watches every youth team game that's at home. Everyone. And Mark Robson's there, and I know that for a fact. For a fact. He's there more often. He was, all the others I've never seen go to all the games, but Moyes will always be at the games or have one of his staff there. Mark Robson, Heitinger, one of them will be there in the stands, sitting in front of me.
Do you reckon there's an element of concern when it comes to like social media and Twitter or X in particular when it comes to criticism of players? Because obviously after the Bristol City game, Mubama was heavily criticised. There was loads of negative posts and thoughts about Mubama on Twitter, about talking about his performance and things like that. And do you reckon that Moyes may think he's protecting, the youth players from that criticism by not playing him as much? I did hear this as a rumor, as like it is a possibility. I don't know, because it can affect their confidence as well, especially in today's game where 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't as much exposure and not everyone's opinions were heard as much as they are now. And it can be very critical to a lot of youth players if they're given the opportunity. And I think there's an expectation on them as well that we build them up so much that we expect them to come in and look amazing. And I definitely think there is a large expectation of that.
I've always said that when it comes to our youth team players, I think we as fans, and it's like if they were playing, if you're playing on FIFA, they've all got like a silver attribute card. So I think we do think of them a lot better than they probably are, in all honesty. And I think that's always been the West Ham way in terms of, promoting the academy of football and stuff like that. And we yearn to have a situation where we've got 4 or 5 of them coming through from the academy. The situation now is completely different to how it was 20 years ago, despite what anyone tells me. I've done the stats, in the Premier League. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was something like 8% of everyone that started in the Premier League was from their associated academy. So it was like out of the 220, they had like 8 players across the whole Premier League. And so you have to be even better. You think someone like City, the guys who make it are like the Fodens who end up becoming, England internationals. They are Declan Rice. They are, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James. These guys are the upper echelons. And I think we have a lot of really good players, but I don't think we've got a lot of exceptional players.
See, the thing is, though, like if it wasn't for Pellegrini taking an opportunity and a chance on Declan Rice to give him that debut, was it against Burnley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it? No, yeah.
Burnley, came on, Burnley away.
And I mean, listen, there's other youth academies that have got a lot more money in them, a lot more staffing in them and stuff like that. And I know West Ham built their history on, and their pride on building youth academies, etc., etc. But, Chelsea let Declan Rice slip, and West Ham have let players, maybe not the mainstream players, but there'll be people that would have gone through our younger academy that we've let slip who've gone on to achieve stuff in the world football. The one criticism I do have of David Moyes, though, I will say it, and listen, I'm not saying I'm pro Moyes, I'm just not Moyes out to the extent that people are. But my criticism is that I do think there should be players that should have been given a little bit more game time, and I think that gives them the confidence to know that there is a potential opportunity, there is a potential pathway. I think Moyes has a history and is guilty of not doing it, and that is a little bit frustrating. So it's easy for us to watch an under-23 games, it's easy for us to watch a development game, and it's easy for us to make a judgment on an under-21 game. But what we don't know is, can they rise to the occasion? So what we know about Mubama is, whatever level he's played at, he has risen to the occasion. When he's dropped back, he's risen to the occasion. When he's came to the top tier, like with West Ham, would I say he's risen to the occasion? Has he set the world alight? No. Has he risen to the occasion? I think, well, he's done more than what fucking Danny Ings has done. He's done what more than Danny. He's done more than what Danny Ings has done. And
Yeah,
Danny
yeah.
Ings is in 120k a
He's
week.
done more than I saw a thing about Benrahma. Benrahma's had 6 shots on target since May 2023.
That is terrible.
That's terrible.
That is
terrible,
shocking.
Muriel.
That
I
is
saw that
absolutely
and I
shocking.
thought, oh my god, that's so true. But you're totally right, Anton. I think the thing is, he hasn't looked out of place.
Yeah.
Divine hasn't looked out of place. Someone like Meepo did. You know, he came on, he
But you
looked
could
totally
tell,
like scared.
And do you know what? There's an element of Moyes doing the wrong thing but doing the right thing at the same time when it came to me. It came to me, Paul. But what I found interesting was I am no football expert. I am a guy who does a YouTube channel who loves West Ham.
Yeah.
I watched West Ham at St Andrews for 3 seasons on a trot training. Right, I was there. I was watching them, and very clearly you could see the players that stood out who were not, in my opinion, capable. And the one particular year was Mipo Odebiku and Xander Silva. Like, honestly, it was clear as mustard. It was the clearest thing I've ever saw. They were weak. They couldn't get involved. It was as if they were the youth players. And in that setup at the time, Baptiste and Alessi were in the setup, and they looked completely composed enough to be part of that session. They played a little bounce game, and those 2 players went absolutely missing. And I've not seen Mubama in the flesh in terms of his training with that. I'm no expert, but he's never looked out of place in that setup at all. And to me, I just think like I would love to see a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we all would.
Yeah.
But I think we all would.
Not starting, because I get that could be throwing him under the bus, but just teams do it. Teams do it. I know they don't do it. Russ, you've got the stats. You've done a couple of shows in the past, and they're really good stats as well. But we must be one of a group of teams that don't give even 5 minutes.
There was so as we said, we looked at we compared it to the League R, because obviously the French league, we've had the likes of Tim Breaker on and Patsy Holland and guys who who are youth team scouts and stuff like that, and that's what they said. They said, why invest in someone for a club who might make it, or I can go to France and get someone who's the same age and has played 100 league games, because you can, and that's how it works. And so, so I looked at League R, and I think League R had and they've got obviously less players, they've got less teams. So, in terms of, I think for their game week, I think it's 18 teams. So they had 100, whether it's 190 or whatever it is, players, and 25 of them were from their academies, their respective academies. And in the same game week, the Premier League, who had 220, had 8. And to be honest, most of them, 2 of them were from Chelsea. And again, the Chelsea one, a lot of that is hangover from Frank Lampard when he took over, because they had to play the kids because they couldn't buy anyone. So the likes of Conor Gallagher, Trevor Chalobah, Conor Gallagher, Brozier, these guys were playing, not Brozier, but these guys were playing because they had to. And I think you've got a situation where they can spend £1 billion, and it's only Reece James and Conor Gallagher who are getting any minutes, really.
Yeah.
Chalobah hasn't started at all this season. So
no, Moyes is definitely a manager that doesn't play as many youth players, but I don't think it is just a Moyes problem. I think it is a Premier League problem.
It is.
And a lot of it's got to do with the amount of pressure that these managers are under to win games. And so in some games, instead of putting these youth players and giving them a chance, they always want to try and play that strongest side, and they want to have strong backup. They want to have a strong second team instead of the youth players experience in there, because they're the ones more likely, not always, but in general, more likely to do a good job and it is at the detriment of these young players who don't give that. They're not given that opportunity to show what they're really capable of enough at a time, because if they're only playing 10 minutes every couple of games or every few weeks or so, what are they supposed to do in that time? How are they supposed to show what they're capable of? Because not every game is the same, and you're not playing against the same defenders and stuff like that. It's very difficult for these guys to show what they're capable of when they're not given a lot of minutes. But at the same time, it's it's that whole thing of, could Moyes do anything right if he starts playing, Mubama, and he ends up doesn't perform, or he struggles a little bit. Moyes will then get criticised for that as well, and it's things like that. But yeah, from what I hear, there is a lot of youth players. There is a few. I think Lewis Alford, you mentioned, he looks very decent. He does look like a player who can.
Who's the next one?
Yeah,
Kudus.
Oh yeah, your mate Kudus. We love, yeah. He played all right yesterday. So anyway, so this is what I was saying. So this was the game week. So like these are all the clubs who had an academy player in their starting 11, and again, Man United up an asterisk because like one of them was like fucking Johnny Evans, who isn't really technically is an academy player, but not really. And so there's fuck all really in there, and like you can pick them. It's Saka. It's gonna be what's his face, the left back from Palace, Trent. I think Brighton is Lewis Dunk, who's not really, I say, an accounts to me as a academy, but he does. Chelsea was like the two of Gallagher and Reece. I think you had Miley, Lewis Miley for Newcastle. I think the previous week, I think it was Longstaff as well. So you had like, and even like someone like Garnacho, they bought when he was like 17. So it doesn't really count. So that's what I was saying. The difference between Liga and the Premier League, and Premier League have got a lot more players because they
Premier League has a lot more money.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, because League that's how they make their money, because they develop kids and then sell them on.
To the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's one for you then, right? So we're in this situation, and we've been going on about a player for the last couple of weeks. However, I don't think we've really mentioned him on this show. Maxwell Cornet.
Yeah. It's a weird one, that, isn't it? I have no idea why Moyes doesn't play. I mean, there is talk of that injury he had last season. Is that having an effect? Can he play a significant amount of time? We don't know. But I thought when he came on in that Europa League game, who was it? It was Olympiacos, wasn't it? I think away.
No, it was the one where
he had a go.
No, it was the one where he got the assist.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Was it? Was it Paqueta?
It was Paqueta, or whatever. It wasn't the Freiburg game. It must have been, yeah. But yeah, he came on and got that assist, and he looked good playing on the right. And because he is a left-footed player, and we usually always, when he does come on and goes on to the left and tries and whips the balls in, where he actually came in on the right and he did whip a ball in from his left, into the box, and it curled in, like he cut back onto his left. And he did look decent in that game, and then we didn't see him again for weeks. Yeah. And it's why
I think with the whole thing with Cornet is, we know that we sort of, other clubs wanted him, and then they saw his medical records and
said no.
And when we said yes, we have more than often enough, whether it is pre-Moyes, whether it was Tim Styler, whether it was Harry Redknapp, we've signed players who are injured. We've signed injured players. I remember Scott Mean. We signed Scott Mean. He had a broken leg. He never played for us, really. And so that was the case. And I think, I think that's the reason why he's in the squad, but we don't play it. He was forced to play him yesterday, on Sunday, Saturday, rather, or Sunday. That was it, Sunday. Maybe because Benrahma refused to play, apparently. So, so he had to put Cornet on. Well, apparently so. That was the rumor. And if it was, then he should be fined and should never play for West Ham again. But I don't know if it's true or not. That was the rumor that he refused to play.
Could he have been upset that Mubama came on for Paqueta and he didn't?
I don't know.
Because that was the obvious. In my mind, that was the obvious change when I saw Paqueta go down. I thought, he's going to bring Benrahma on. I did not expect him to put Mubama on for Paqueta at that point. I did not expect. That was a surprise to me personally. I thought he would put Benrahma on. I thought that was the obvious change, looking at Moyes' record. I'm glad he put Mubama on.
Yeah,
I thought he would put Benrahma on instead. So I wonder if Benrahma was upset
to put him on, but obviously playing on the left rather than having to change it all over just to, it would have made sense. But I think the thing about Cornet is, I think, he's I think they're in fear of him getting injured and that's it. And we've got a very expensive player we're still paying for because no one will buy him.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, if we're in fear of him getting injured and no one will buy him, like giving him a run out of 5 or 10 minutes doesn't even make sense because that's the risk
Well,
you
I
take.
think they had to. I think they had to, mate.
No, but they had to. So, but even if they've had to, like, to me, it's like, if you, I mean, do we seriously think Max Cornet will be here come the end of the January transfer window? I think he will. I don't think he'll be gone.
I don't know who's going to buy him.
That's what I mean. So
But if that is the case, then if he's not worth anything to anyone, and we got no chance of getting rid of him, what's the downside to playing him? You know, we either play him and he gets injured and he just doesn't play, or we just don't play him and he doesn't go anywhere and he just sits on that. He just sits and we pay him. So where's the downside? So that's what makes me think that maybe we are looking to offload him. We don't want him to be injured. So if someone does come in for him, he'll pass a medical, or Moyes just doesn't like him. I don't know. It's like, if we are just not playing him because
we signed him 2 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah,
2 seasons ago. So that would have been under Rob Newman. So that was under Rob Newman and Moyes' stewardship. Because the summer transfers, that's Steidten's stewardship. So Moyes would have fancied him because Rob Newman and him would have bought him together. It wasn't like a Danny Sully special. No. So so there would have been an appreciation. In fact, he did start quite a few games when he joined.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah,
Chelsea game.
He had that. Yeah, that goal disallowed.
Yeah,
annoying. But yeah, then he picked up that injury and. He just never came back.
Yeah, I mean, that goal that was disallowed, that whole start to his career, he was quite influential. People were actually, we played a Europa League game at home, and he won us a penalty, and then for the remember he got absolutely slammed by the keeper, he got absolutely done in by the keeper, and we got the penalty, and that spearheaded the game. And then I think a couple of times he was caught offside in that game, and a couple of times he went down quite easy. And some of the fan base were critical online because they were like, "Oh, he just goes down too easy." But he was really influential. He is that sort of player that bridges that gap between the midfield and the striker, and he was showing signs of doing that. And like you said, Alex, if he had banged that goal in against Chelsea, I think that could have been like the kind of starting point, the trigger to push on and grow your career at the club. But that freak, it seemed to be like it was a freak injury. It seemed like an absolutely freak injury. And
it went weird, didn't it? Because we didn't see him for 5 months.
Yeah.
And he just went away. And there was no, it was not it was almost brushed under the carpet, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah. We just moved on without him, basically. That's what he kind of felt like. He just wasn't part of the plans. And I don't know. It is a completely strange. I think the interesting thing will be is if we go into February and he's still at West Ham. If the only worry is if we play him and he gets injured and then we still don't play him, it's got to be that Moyes just doesn't fancy him, because it makes no sense not to play him in case he gets injured. So what's the point in having a player who, is just going to sit there and do nothing? If you play him, he gets injured, he's going to sit there and do nothing, or you just sits there fit and does nothing. It just makes no sense. So if we get past the January transfer window and he doesn't play, I would say that it's Moyes just doesn't fancy him anymore.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few questions. We've got some questions. People put questions in. Let's go through them because it's quite interesting. Mark said, "Has Soucek become the hate figure after Haller left? To me, it seems some West Ham fans need someone to rag on." Is the criticism of Thomas Soucek justified?
No. He was played out of position last season because Rice wanted to move more forward, and it affected his game because he can't do Rice's job as well as Rice can do it. And that was detriment to him. And since Rice has gone, he's been given that freedom to move forward. And we're seeing that Soucek again that we saw when we first signed him. People hate it when I said he was being held back by Rice. They're like saying, "Oh, what you saying?" But no, he was, because we were allowing Rice to go forward, we needed Soucek to stay back, and he just could not do that job as well as Rice could. And yeah, I think that's why a lot of fans were against him, because he made a lot of mistakes playing in a position he's not very good at playing in last season.
I mean, last season he played 50. He had 50 appearances. He scored 3 goals. So far, he's done 28, and he scored 8. That's all you need to know in terms of how his game. His game, you know, he's this year. He's on court. I think 10. I think he scored 10 in his first full season with us, and he's already on 8 halfway through the season.
And coming away from even the fact that he's scoring those goals, his game contribution is really high up there. Like his after every game when we do the review, the first thing we try and do is pull up players' individual stats, but it's looking at not just the goals and assists, it's looking at what their contribution is in the rest of the game. So Soucek always comes out quite low in terms of times he touches the ball, but comes up high in the following stats, things like pass success rate, long ball passes randomly. He always comes up really high in that. Winning all of his aerial duels and winning all of his ground duels. Always blocks, interceptions. They're all up there, but he does it from a higher area of the park. And I think me and you, Russ, pinpointed, and everyone else saw it as well. Do you remember that interview that was it Rice and Paqueta done? And or there was a video clip or something like that, and Soucek was in the background, and it was the way that Rice and Paqueta were being around Soucek, as if, like, you know, the reason we do this is because, and as much as he wasn't playing well, Alex, they were like, we need him on the park. It's like he's actually an influential figure.
Yeah.
And do you think this is a point that Michael said? You know, is it because he resembles David Moyes ball? Because in essence he does, isn't he? And I think, could that be why he's so ridiculed?
Look, just let me say one thing on that. If it wasn't for Tommy Soucek, with all due respect, not just on his shoulders, but Tommy Soucek came to West Ham when we needed a Tommy Soucek, and he helped the start of the progression. And if we did not have a Tommy Soucek, I'm not saying we wouldn't be in the same situation now. I just don't think we would be as far advanced as what we are, because he was the first signing that Moyes brought in. That I genuinely went, oh, he signed a player who's a piece of the jigsaw, not just on his individuality.
And I think the big effect of when he came in wasn't as much as what he did on the pitch, it was what he was doing off the pitch, because you had the reports of him. He was early for training. He left late for training. He was always working harder, and that kind of installed that mentality in the squad that was severely lacking under Pellegrini, where you saw that there was a lack of energy, a lack of intensity, just consistently. And when Soucek came in, he inspired that in other players as well. So it was the effect he had off the pitch as well as on the pitch when he came to West Ham that I think is massively underrated.
I totally agree. And I think you're right. I think, you know, because then obviously he then brings in Vlad, and then we know sort of that work ethic, and how many times has Tommy Soucek bled for the club, you know. And when you talk about, you know, when I've had this debate with several on, and I think we'll do a proper show one, you know, we'll do a proper show soon about what is the West Ham way, because I think there's a lot of disparaging between what people assume. But from the purest sense, it is you know, dying for the badge, playing for the badge, and, you know, running to you can't stop. He does that.
He does.
He puts his head where no one else would put their head. So, you know, in front of a foot. You know, I mean, Spurs. He cut his head. He had bloody stitches on the side of the pitch beginning of the season.
Yeah,
and it's like, what more? You know, yes, he can't. Yes, he's not a great part. You know, he's not a Lucas Paqueta. Yes, he's not going to spray a 30-yard ball like Aguerd does or something like that. But they can't all be fancy Dans. You do need someone with grit. You do need a Hayden Mullins. You do need a Jeff Pike. You do need a player who's going to come in and just a Pete Butler. I've said it. You know, those guys who just going to just make the others play. He allows the others to play. And I think when you look back at it, he's in our top 10 of Premier League goal scorers of all time.
That's mental.
That's mental. He scored more goals than Frank Lampard scored for against us. He scored more goals. I think he's almost scored more goals. He has scored more than John Hartson scored for us. You know,
Really?
so, yeah, something like that now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's definitely in the top 10 now. So, you know, it's where's the cheat sheet? I'll get my cheat sheet up in a minute. So yeah, I think it's because he epitomizes what is Moyes ball. And I think, you know, people are like, you know, I think if you lose him, you lose a lot of, you know, when Hayden Mullins was like, you know, in the mid 2000s, you know, when he wasn't playing, you know, it's like, why is the team not playing as it should be? You know, and it's because you need that glue. You need someone in there who's just going to run the hard yards.
Yeah. No, that was a Mullins that he just put himself about. He was just there, wasn't he? He was in that midfield all the time. Yeah. And we've always had players like that. Yeah, no, it's very important. Yeah,
he's got two. He needs to score 2 more, and then he's overtaken. And then he's joined with Lanzini, and Lanzini played. Sorry, Happy Hammer, I know you're in the chat. Lanzini played 100. He played 38 more games than Thomas Soucek, and he's 2 away from equaling him. Then the next one's Freddie Canute.
So bloody hell!
He'll overtake Freddie Canute by the end of this year. Mental.
Yeah, especially when we put him up front.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. For someone as tough as Soucek, I've never seen him get stuck into it. You're right, though. He doesn't really get stuck into tackles. He's not like an Edson Alvarez, does he? But he just puts his head in the way of things, doesn't
he? He's more of a blocker or an interceptor. Is the way I describe him. Like, you know, I remember watching my nephew play once, and I said, "Oh my God, he seems to just touch the ball, whether it's in the right direction, wrong direction, or out for a throw in." He just knows how to put he knows if a pass is made, he may make that pass slower. It may still get to the player, but he just messes the game up a little bit. He's just an interesting footballer. I find him quite interesting, actually.
I think that you'll see the best of Soucek on the edge of our box. That is where he does a lot of his stuff. He'll make a lot of blocks. He'll make a lot of last-minute challenges and stuff like that, and he'll get really involved in there. And then it's when he tries to pass it out. That's where the problems occur. But he's very good at that job around and in the box. As I say, you see the best of Soucek in the 2 boxes at either end. In the middle, it could be a little bit dodgy sometimes, but you get the best of him either end of the pitch in the boxes. If it's defensive or attacking, that's where you get the best of Soucek.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think, and I get why people want him out because they want Paqueta to move into the midfield and play more of a central role, and they see Soucek as the obvious person to take out. And I just think the side, yes, it might play more flamboyant football, but I just think, you know, while he's still scoring goals, Moyes ain't taking him out. Simple.
No.
Simples. Are we going to finish top 6 this year, Anton?
Oh, what a question. What a question. Fucking hell. How do you answer that?
Well, yes or no.
Well, I know that, obviously, but I can't answer it until I see what we do in January. That's an unfair. I think it's an unfair question on the basis of. But I think it is because right now, with players out for 6-7 weeks potentially, depending on what you want to believe and whatever, then I would honestly say no. But depends on what we bring in.
I mean, it depends. Go on now. You go, mate.
I think if we get through the Sheffield United, Bournemouth, and Man United game without losing, I would go yes. Considering the injuries we've got and the players we've got out, if we went through those 3 games and we didn't lose, I'm not saying that if we drew all 3 games, that'd be different. We'd have to at least win one of them, I think. I would probably say that, I think we're going to have the grit to do it. But it's going to be very difficult, especially with Man United and Brighton behind, and you don't know what those teams are going to do because obviously that's a lot to do with it. But I just have a feeling that we are going to finish in the top 6 this season. I just have that feeling for some reason.
I think also, I think the fact is, I think we're not looking. I mean, people are going, "Oh, Bowen's out for 3 weeks." We've got Sheffield United next Sunday, next Sunday, and then we don't play again until the 1st. So we've got, it's really. I mean, if Bowen's out for 3 weeks, then technically he could be back for the Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
So really, he only really misses one game potentially. There's nothing, And if Lucas is not going to be away for 6 to 8 weeks, according to his own words, then and Antonio will be out for 4 to 6 weeks, so he could be back for the Bournemouth game potentially as well. So really, it's only one game. But you're right. That Man United, I think, because we don't know what Jim Ratcliffe's going to do in terms of who he's going to bring in. They'll bring in some signings. They will do. There'll be a stronger side by the end of January than they will be. I think that to me is a key game, that Man United game.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see any massive changes at Man United until the summer. I think we might see a couple of changes here and there, but I think you'll see some big changes in the summer for Man United.
Yeah,
I think he probably came in a little bit too late to have a major impact in January. I think you never know.
And players that do sign in January, historically, I think the percentage of making an impact is probably on the lower side, especially if if Man United are going to make an impact. West Ham are looking for that gem. Manchester United aren't looking for that gem. Manchester United are looking for how much money. That's the difference, I think, between, say, West Ham right now and even Manchester United. It seems to be that every player they're signing is of a 70, 80, 90 million pound purchase to fulfill the Manchester United status. I could have made a massive misjudgment on that, but that's how it feels. And that also feels like the West Ham of old, not 75, 80 million pounds, but pieces of the jigsaw. Now, if we believe, again, going back to West Ham for a second, if we believe Tim Stein's doing what he's doing, then he should be looking at, we talk about, what's the strike? You talk about
Ekitike.
He's probably not coming to West Ham. Why? Because he's been linked to us for about 1 million transfer windows. And what happens when we're linked to players like that? They never sign for us. So he's probably going to come out of the blue with someone from the Czech Republic who's going to be unbelievable and who's going to save our season. And bosh, we're going to finish in the Champions League position. There you go.
So West Ham going to win Champions League. There you go. We're not finishing. Not trying to finish.
We're going to win the Europa League.
We're going to win the Europa League now. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting. You're right. I think it'll be interesting to see, because don't forget, during the summer, I remember the fan base was, because obviously Deck had gone. I remember doing a show. I'm worried. Deck had gone. We hadn't signed anyone. What the fuck's this Steidten bloke doing? And obviously, then you bumped into him, Anton, and he said, "Oh,
mate,
your mate." We actually provided some proper ITK news, because it actually came out of his mouth into your ears. Didn't go Chinese whispers and sent via email and text. And He just said, "Look, I'm signing some people. They'll be signing next 3 days." And then in 3 working days.
He did say 3 days. He didn't tell me 3 working days. So in theory, it was 5 actual days.
3 working days, because it was the weekend.
And we got called out for it. But I was like, well, who cares? I mean, I'm just telling you what he said. I just, whatever.
He had the weekend off.
He
doesn't work weekends.
We never work weekends. We never work Sundays. But yeah, so, and so for me, it was like, and we was like, oh my God. And then we come out the transfer window going, fucking hell, we got some really good players for selling that one player. We've got in JWP, we've got in, Mavropanos, we've got in, Kudus, we've got in Alvarez, and that ain't too bad. We're doing all right. We're okay. He knows what he's talking about. And I think actually, and people have said, because obviously we haven't even spoken about, this whole idea that Moyes is going to be signing, will be offered a new deal or whatnot. Regardless of what happens there, clearly for me, I think there was a fractious relationship between him and Steidten earlier on. But having seen the impact of Kudus, having seen the impact of Alvarez particularly, he's now gone, you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, Tim. Okay. I want, this is the guys I want, off you go. Off you go. Because, I mean, anyone who's there early enough and watch the team warm up, he is there with Moyes in the dugout, 15, 20 minutes chatting, looking at the opposition, talking, laughing. They're quite amicable. And so I think, they're actually working together. And if he is offered a new deal and if he is given a new contract, I have no doubt that his role at the club will have changed. He won't be a manager. He'll be a head coach. And basically, as a number of parameters, it's Tim Steinden's way. You'll have to bring for the youth team. There'll be things in this contract. It won't be just another 2.5 years of David Moyes. It would have to be his way, Tim's way, or the highway. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the transfer window. As you said, I still think Moyes gets one. Moyes picks one. Do you know what I mean? It'll be like, you look at Tim Steidten, you went out and got Kudus and Alvarez, and then
Lingard.
And then JWP. JWP is not a Steidten signing. So Moyes always gets one. So Moyes will get one. And I think that one will be Jesse Lingard in January. I think he's coming. I think he's coming back.
Well, I told you it wasn't going to be Eric Dyer. I told you it was never going to be Eric Dyer.
Well, he'll be off to us now, isn't he? He'll be off to Bayern Munich. Yeah, it's not good enough for West Ham. Bayern Munich, mate. Bayern Munich. But I think he will get one. I think he will get one. And I think we will get Hugo Ekitike, despite the fact what you say. I think we will.
Yeah. I know. I was jesting at the fact that when we're linked to a player, every single window, we never tend to get those players. So yeah,
Broga and Nesle and
Carlos Bacca.
Jonathan David, I think as well, and that's another one of the kids we'll get leaked with. Never.
It's so funny though, because it's so funny because some of these players that we're linked to, I remember at the time. Oh my god, I think I was maybe drawn into the fact that I've got a Colombian friend. So, and I did really like Carlos Bacca. I really thought he would be good for West Ham. He ended up being so fucking shit wherever he went after AC Milan. He's been off. Was it Villarreal he went to in the end or something like that?
Yes, something like that. I think it would. Yeah.
Yeah,
we haven't been linked with Nesri yet, so give it time. We'll have to be linked with him soon. I think we're on 30. I think we're on about 35 players we've been linked with so far. 10 days gone the January transfer window.
You know what? Happy Emirette's written in there. Like that surprises me. There must be something as to why we haven't made a move for him, because I still think we should. He's a big lad. I think he's good with his feet. He's a good ball playing. Not as like, the Aguerd situation is Aguerd for me is a ball playing centre half who likes to play further up the field rather than be in a low block. So I'm not for selling an Aguerd when I think that we will eventually change our style, whatever. And I think Taz not a ball playing to the level of Aguerd, but I think he's a really good fit for our team. But I'm really shocked at why we haven't made a move for him, considering the Leverkusen connection, and we had an option to get him cheaper before that window changed, and then he's gone up the way, isn't it?
That's the thing. We would have got him then if we really wanted him. We'd have put a bid in there. And I think now it's Leverkusen having such a good season. I think the fact is he is 27. He's on the cusp. If you're going to spend a lot of money, you want maybe someone 26. That's why I know it's a lot of money, but I think someone like Max Kilman to me seems a more, although it's 45 million or whatever it is, but that's the age profile, I think. So, for me, I'd rather want from Leverkusen to Soba or Hincape, the younger end of it. But yeah, I mean, he was someone that I thought we would have probably put in when his contract, when his release clause was at 15 million, whatever it was. But
it's a strange one that.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of them really. There's loads of those strange ones where you're thinking it's like I don't see us buying Grace from Stuttgart. He's 27. He's having a one season wonder, and so I think we won't. That's why I don't think we'll spend money on the forward positions. That'll be loan options. If we do buy anyone on the forward position, they'll be very cheap. It will be, as you said, like a random. I don't know.
Gnotto?
No. But
Jack Clark.
Yeah, Jack Clark. Yeah, 20. But we have to pay £20 million for him to get him out of his contract at Sunderland. So
yeah,
I think there's others. We'll obviously do my rumour roundup tomorrow. So there's a few in there. I think which, I think it's a few good ones. A few good ones. But apparently, Budgie says Tim did a fly over his house on his way to Gatwick, and then Mbappe waved to him. So there we go. And actually, Budgie will be on in about 10 minutes or so. We might as well stay on for another 10 minutes, isn't it? then they can go straight
Well,
over.
I've already done it. I've done the live redirect.
I checked.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, Al, who do you want us in your ideal world? Who's coming in by the end of January for you?
See, ideally, I do think we need another. Ideally, I do think we do need another centre back. Jonathan Tah did look good. I mean, I would only have Max Kilman if Aguerd did leave, but I can't see us selling Aguerd. But I do feel like Max Kilman would be a decent choice because Premier League experience. I like Jack Clark from Sunderland. I've seen him play a couple of times, and he does look very, very good and very exciting. And I do wonder if he could have that kind of similar impact to someone like Bowen. So that's a player I would really like to see at West Ham. Striker wise, though, there isn't anyone I've been looking at and I think, yeah, I really would like to see him. And I think that's probably because over the years I've just got so used to seeing strikers sign for West Ham and just fail miserably that I look at them and I'm like, they could work, but he's coming to West Ham, so it probably won't. And so I think that's probably why I'm looking more at these wide players. I saw Junior Lingun the other day for Juventus. I think I saw him play. He's got a great goal for them, and he looks half decent. But I haven't really seen enough of it. But I'd say Jack Clark on the left looks good for me. I'd like to see him come in.
Yeah, he's got a bit knowing about him, doesn't he? Sort of like You know,
I mean, there's a bit of news coming out from the French paper saying that PSG are now looking at Aguerd. Just literally coming out just now.
Really?
That's all right. Swap deal for Ekatike. There we go. Job done.
No, we'll swap for Mbappe. He can play on the left, can't he?
Yeah, we'll probably put him centre half though, wouldn't we? No, Moyes.
Well, he's got to settle in.
No, Moyes. He'll settle in. Yeah, take him a while to settle in and understand the English game. It's one of those players. I don't want to see Aguerd leave because I think Aguerd he's a brilliant player, and I think actually he would suit if a new manager does come in, a more progressive style of football. So as Mavropanos, I think suits that style more than the Kurt Zuma. I think the two of them are very good. They're very Zuma, Aguerd and Dinos together, very mobile, very quick. I think they're very useful together as a pairing. But if it does mean, we're led to believe, and I always say that we're led to believe that there's disenchantment among the West Ham hierarchy because of the way Aguerd's reacted to this illness, and he's happened before with the World Cup, wasn't he? He was ill and then he got injured and he obviously he recovered in time, and apparently it's the same issue with the illness now. And if it is a way of investing and bringing in a younger model, maybe, then I don't know. I don't want to see him go. I really rate him. I think he's a really good player, and he's had some issues.
I feel like from what I've seen of Aguerd, what we've seen of him over the last couple of the season, he has got a mistake in him, but he has got that pace to chase back. He's got a brilliant tackle on him. Those last minute challenges that he makes, he's got great timing, and that's what I really like from Aguerd. But I still think there's a lot more to come from him, and I feel like we haven't seen the best of him yet, and I don't know what's happened.
That's all right, don't worry. You just
don't worry. Oh yeah, no, it just kind of I don't know. It just went there for a second. Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen the best of Aguerd yet, basically.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Alex, I totally agree with you, mate. I mean, he's only played 2.5 seasons at West Ham.
Yeah.
Because he got that injury, and yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think he's come into some harsh criticism. I do think he has made a few errors, but I think that's been an element of him adjusting to the Premier League and a different style of play. But he has also had to play alongside many different players, and also he's missed a lot of games himself as well through injuries and illnesses and stuff like that. But I think when he gets to 1 of games and we get something sorted beside him, I mean, I think you mentioned Max Kilman. I think it's probably I like the idea of Max Kilman, to be honest. Wolves captain, Premier League experience, young, 6'4", left-footed player. He seems the business as well, but we're going to have to pay top dollar to bring in a Premier League captain to our club. So we're going to have to pay that top dollar if we want him.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think to replace someone like Aguerd, you have to pay pretty much around the money you've been paying for. I mean, we bought him for 30 odd million already. So,
Yeah.
to get a replacement, you're not going to get a cheap replacement. And so, you might be able to get a cheap understudy to him. You might be able to spend, like we did with Craig Dawson or whatever like that. But you need a replacement, a direct replacement. So, you will be investing most of the money you get for Aguerd plus a bit more to get a replacement in. And that's what they cost. And that's what they cost. You look at it.
I think out of the centre halves that we've got, the one that I'm probably more concerned about. I mean, obviously there's a bomber in his age. He is getting on a bit.
Yeah.
Is actually Zuma in his knees. I mean, just how he runs sometimes, it does worry me. You see how he runs and the way he passes, and he just doesn't have that pace anymore. So that's always a concern with me with Zuma. That's going to let us down, and we tend to have to play a deeper line when he plays as well, because he doesn't have that pace to chase back like Aguerd or Mavropanos does, for example. So if I was more concerned about any of our centre backs, it probably would be Zuma. As much as I love the guy and I think he is a great defender, he does worry me a little bit more at times. I think
Dinos. The thing that worries me about Dinos is he smashes the ball to his partner in defence.
That's it.
Like
really
he never fucking just passes it nicely. He just smashes the fucking ball so hard that sometimes the player's like, "What are you doing, mate? Like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm just here." He literally lumps it at them.
He does. He lumps it at them. And I tell you who used to lump it to players, and he used to get to his feet, and that was always the first thing I saw about him was Jesse Lingard. When he had a pass, when he was playing for us, when he had a pass, it would snap to someone. It wouldn't be. I think sometimes it's almost like we're quite lethargic. It's like we'll roll it towards.
Oh yeah,
straight into them, mate. And it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I just want us to do something like in the next few days, just to get the fan base on a little bit of an up. Do you know what I mean? I think we go into the Bristol City game dreading the worst, and we more likely than not, I think we might struggle. I think we're against Bristol City. They'll be up for it. They'll do exactly what the same as they did on Sunday. They'll come along and try and smash us, what's left of us, and try and get a win. They'll have all the fans behind them. They'll sell out at Ashton Gate.
It's just not a great time for West Ham to be playing Bristol City.
No, it's not.
The week before we're playing in the Premier League when we don't have our forwards. Like, it's just not a good time. And then there'll be like other players like, oh fuck, like you can imagine Alvarez. Just imagine typical West Ham. Alvarez plays, picks up a knock. Just JWP plays. Do you know what I mean? It's just typical West Ham, isn't it?
Yeah. But I do feel like there are definitely worse times that we could be suffering these injuries than right now.
Yeah.
A month ago, when you had
if this happened at the beginning of December, we would have been fucked.
Yeah.
Without those players. But and if it happens like in a couple of months at the beginning of March, that wouldn't be very good. So I say right now it's not good, but it's not the worst time to have these injuries. And hopefully they should be back for the majority of the rest of our season, so we can, if we do end up falling back a little bit, we've still got time to make it up. But I don't think we will. I think Moyes is going to adapt, especially in the Premier League games. I'm not so sure about the Bristol City game. I do feel like he may not be overly fussed about that, given how we want to be in the Premier League and the Europa League campaign. I'm not 100% sure how he's going to go, but I do think he'll adapt for the Sheffield United game, and he's got to, because in the games against the lower teams, we do try and keep the ball and play that possession and try and break them down, and we're not particularly good at that when we got our best players available. So trying to do that with the players we've got now is a worry.
I think the issue. I think it's one of those awful things. I remember. I think it was Ruby Tuesday. I was talking to in the comments a week or so ago, and I think footballers do. And we talk about the magic of the cup and the magic and unfortunately, from a business perspective, it's about the Premier League. For all for all the money you can get for winning. I mean, look at the Europa Conference League. All the money we got. The majority of that money is actually this year in terms of qualifying for Europe and all the money, and same as the Premier League. Yes, the FA Cup, we want to progress, and we all as a fans want to win the FA Cup and want to do this, but from a football perspective, being the difference between 10th and 6th is like almost 10 million quid.
Mm.
And so that's always, and it was, why is it always Premier League first? And why? Because that's where the money's at. The money is such a way now that, as you said, we spent all about the youth team. And the fact is, he has to get a result. So that's why he's happy to put in people who he knows he's going to get a result, the squad players, rather than necessarily the youth team, which all we want to see. But it's of if he doesn't get a result, then people are going to go, oh, senior management will say, well, you fucking, you need to get a result here, and yada yada yada. There's so much. It's all about money. It's all about money.
It is. Yeah.
So much money in the game. It's to a detriment of youth development, to a detriment of the cup competitions.
Yeah.
And I think we have to sometimes, I don't know what the right word is, because whatever word I say will be the wrong word, but it's understand that the business side of football now, because that's what it is. It all comes down to business now. The whole thing about spending, FFP, people go, we're not far enough, we're too far away. Look at Everton. Everton, didn't even, the money the extra money they spent was on their stadium, wasn't even on their team, and they lost 10 points. Forest is going to be losing points this season as well. Everton probably going to leave more points this season because of everything else that's happened. And so we have to be so careful with that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when it comes to FFP, I don't think the stadium for Everton played a part, because stadium costs and infrastructure doesn't go towards FFP.
This one did, because it was on interest paid on the infrastructure. So because that's why, because it wasn't on the actual team, it was on interest paid, which meant they fell above where because we actually came out of the accounts something like 25 million over budget of what we should spend, but because of the fact that we could take into infrastructure and stuff like that, we got below FFP. We could have been a right shit creek without a paddle if we hadn't had those things in there. So it's
Can I just quickly just say, in about 1 minute,
yes,
the guys from Old School Hammers are about to go live. So what happens is, when we end this stream, you will then, if you are watching, get transferred over to the new stream from the Old School Hammers with Kieran and Budgie. So make sure you do check them out.
Well,
Sorry,
we'll wrap it up, and then we can, because it'll be done. Because we've been on for an hour and a half. And people are probably enough of us waffling on. And so as I said, we've got Budgie and Kieran, Old School Hammers, talking about the January transfer window, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the January transfer window. So go over and check out.
So proud of himself. He's so fucking proud of himself. He's smirking behind the scenes in the green room. How did I get him to smirk? I
do like that one.
I do like that one. Go on.
That was good. It was a good thumbnail. It's a good thumbnail.
You've done well. You've done well.
Yeah. I did well. The lad done well. But anyway, so we'll go over and talk to them. So what we'll do is we'll close the show. It says you guys stay. Literally, do not move anywhere, and you'll be taken across to them and talk. They'll be talking about all great stuff, and a couple of old guys nattering on about West Ham.
But let's Geezer before we go though.
It's Geezer debut.
Thank you very much.
Transfer window. No money's changed hands, but it's a free signing.
Contract details to be worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, contracts. We just sign it in the post. But Al's going to be on a lot more often. So keep an eye on that and all that good stuff.
Okay.
All that good stuff. We'll have a few shows tomorrow. We'll do Anton do a show about buying someone in January, probably.
No, just keep it under wraps, man.
I'm working on it. I can see.
Yeah,
I know. I can see. And then I'll be doing lunchtime show talking about going into some numbers, talking about the myth that Moyes runs players to the ground.
Yeah,
we're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the minutes played, and we're doing the Premier League. So we'll go through that. It's quite interesting. And then we'll do the Rusty Wimmer roundup for Hammer's headlines tomorrow as well. All that good stuff. Okay. And until next time, don't forget to like, comment, share all that good stuff, and take care. Don't forget to go on the TikTok and look at our it's West Ham fan
86.
86.
West Ham fan 86.
But Al will be back on next week.
Thank you for having me. It's been absolutely brilliant, guys. Absolutely
pleasure. And it's BIM night for me tomorrow. Yeah. It's one more. Yeah. Then it's back to Wednesday next week. Oh, I can't be doing these BIM nights. Keep changing because of bloody Christmas. Anyway. we're going to go, and we'll see you guys
Yep.
very, very soon.
Over
Take
to
care.
Old School Hammers.
Peace
Bye.
out.